topic of schools abolishing the grading system. Our team of students believe that the grading system, as it is, needs to remain the same. First off, we, the affirmative, would like to explain our definition of grading. We consider grading to be credit, points, or percentages given to a student based on homework, projects, or class participation. Some examples of grading would be the standardized grading scale of A through F, pass-fail courses, or goal-oriented rubrics of satisfactory improvement and needs improvement. Our four main arguments that support grading include teachers or staff could not hold students accountable, it would not prepare teens for college grading or real-life experiences. For the abolishing to effectively work, it would need to be changed in all schools nationwide. And lastly, students would not give 100% effort towards school.
That was like perfect timing.
School staff could not hold students accountable or monitor their progress. Scholars would not learn the responsibility of completing their schoolwork and turning it in on time because it is not graded. Would you thoughtfully complete an assignment knowing there wasn't a consequence? Would you feel obligated to turn it in on time? It also wouldn't be necessary for students to attend classes if they weren't graded on participation and attendance. Only those self-motivated would actually attend and try in school. If grades are removed from the school system, then there is no evidence that the child is learning and doing the work to show that they are ready to advance to the next grade. If you teach a child that they will not be graded for the work they do, then they will learn that they do not have to do the best work they can.
There is no guarantee that once a student does go to college that they will be buckled down ready and go to get the work done that's required. They will be pushed through and graduate without learning anything about the field that they want to go into. Say the student wanted to be a doctor of medicine and there was no grading system to show that the student was ready to graduate. Then said student would go off and get their diploma and be a doctor and go on and get a job at a local hospital and somebody's life would be in their hands and they could die because the student didn't go to the work that required to pass medical school. And without the grading system, there would be no way that the teacher would be aware the student wasn't ready to graduate. It would be ideal if only the student or the select few schools did away with the grades. If the student were to transfer in from a school that did not grade into a school that did, there would be no way to show that they were at their education in the new school.
Students wouldn't give 100% effort. They would not be motivated to learn and expand their knowledge. It wouldn't be necessary for students to achieve academic goals and track their progress. There are very few students that are self-motivated and have the drive to excel in schools. As schools become more lenient on grading
How would having grades make students try 100%?
With grades, students have goals. If you didn't have a grade, why would you do your homework? If you didn't.
Because if students didn't have grades, they would try, and when they learned what they wanted to learn, that there wouldn't be any goals to it. They would learn what they wanted to learn versus competing against other students for their grade.
Well, how would teachers and students track their progress without grading?
With maybe one test, or the teacher assesses each student as to what they have learned, and if they came out that they learned what they needed to, versus me having a lower grade than somebody, and then it's like a competition, and
No, I got it. Alrighty. Okay, my question is, does having grades go off and put a label to somebody?
think it would.
Well, if you are having a D or an F, you're counted as a retard. No offense to anybody. Or if you have an A, you're counted as a nerd or a overachiever or a teacher's pet.
Grades don't define who you are. It depends on if you do your work or if you don't.
But if you don't, then you also have the labels of you're an underachiever, you do not do your work, then why don't you? Then you have the kids who, again, are teachers' pets, that everybody labels them as the teacher's pet.
Okay. I don't know. Answer these questions. Tim, these are like non-questions.
It's about grades, isn't it?
Okay, I thought we were talking about high school.
I don't.
I don't know, I thought we were talking about high school, not college grades.
Just go.
So,
I think that grades should be abolished because they make you feel like a lesser person than what you are. And because you don't have good grades, even when you try your hardest, it affects the way your peers look at you as a person and the way everyone else looks at you.
You can be smarter than what the grade says you are because you don't always try. It stereotypes the students because it puts them in a class of low, middle, and high.
Late assignments can give you a bad grade, but it doesn't actually mean that you're not smart academically. You can't keep up sometimes, which then entails you taking on sports. If artistic people are forced to take years of math and science, then why don't science people have to take art and music classes?
We got that.
Oh, what?
it's like,
That's dumb. I wanted to argue. I wanted to argue too, but.
If there was no grading systems, how would the teachers monitor your progress?
Because you can Kahoot. You can every Friday do a Kahoot because you can check if the kids see what they get and everything, see if they learn it or not. Because it tells you if they missed it or got it right, so then the teachers know if you are actually doing your work or paying attention to class.
Okay. Would this be a nationwide thing?
I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. Sure, why not?
And lastly, how do you participate in sports without knowing your GPA?
You don't really need a GPA to define who you are. Sports, people still can play sports if they want to or not. It's the kid, and if grades pull them out, then what's the point of doing the sport anyway? Because if kids aren't going to keep their grades up, then they don't get to play the sport. And they're the ones that decide if they want to play the sport or not.
Why do you think it's necessary to not have grades?
Why should the kids have to test on stuff that they don't want to, that they're not going to use later in life? Why should they have to be graded on it? And then if they fail, then they have to get taken out of the sport when they're not ever going to use it again, whether it's in college or in real life.
How would schools do without grades?
I don't know.
Like, would they
a
be
pass
better
fail
or worse?
system, or the teacher will teach you the stuff in whatever class that you need to learn, and then I don't know.
How would scholarships be given out without grades to know how smart they are? There's none.
I think that we
should not have grades because people judge each other on grades, and if you have like C's and D's, they'll say, hey, they don't know anything, why are they even here? And they'll just look on you, and then teachers think, wow, they're not trying, why are you even here? But maybe it's just like not their subject, or maybe they just don't get it. But if you have like A's and B's, they could just be copying off like the smart people, and they're not learning anything. So they're like, oh, they're fine, but once they get like to college or whatever, they'll just look for help, and help won't always be there, and then they'll just probably just drop out or find a minimum paid job or something.
Grading is an essential part of testing one's abilities or knowledge. Without grades, you wouldn't be able to tell where you are academically. And really, you need grades to motivate yourself, because if you are failing, you should have a more, will to want to get a better grade so you pass the class. And without grading, you really don't care, or you don't know. Either way. And yeah, grades may lower your self-esteem, but you're gonna get called names like nerd, awkward all your life, so you might as well get used to it now. And this is just a better way to, get to know what you're better at than what you're not with grades. So, because you can track your progress upon that one subject that you might be doing really well in. And if you do get a good grade, that does not mean you're cheating. You may be very good at that subject. So,
the variability of students in grades, from teacher to teacher, course to course, school to school, and state to state, are so great. I can't believe that we are realistically putting a stock on what they measure and what they communicate. At best, they argue that grades are here to show what we have learned and what we know. Grades do not always show that. Grades are here to show us if we pass or fail. If we fail, just because we fail a test or an assignment, doesn't mean that we're not smart about it. Maybe we just had a bad testing day, or we just don't understand the subject. If you don't understand the subject, then you're not going to do very good. And with high school teachers always so busy that sometimes they don't get a chance to just explain to you one-on-one. There's a bunch of students out that need one-on-one schooling. They can't sit in a big room with a bunch of big people and follow along all the time.
So they're wondering why we shouldn't have grades. Well, when you don't have grades, there goes my thinking train. Well, they were wondering how we could grade things. You could do pass or fail. If you do know the stuff, then you pass. If you don't, you fail. You have to take it over again. Because sometimes grades, like students don't know how, or have trouble learning, have a tough time understanding things, and they get bad grades, and just hard for them, I guess.
Students wouldn't give 100% effort. They would not be motivated to learn and expand their knowledge. It wouldn't be necessary for students to achieve academic goals and track their progress. There are very few students that are self-motivated and have the drive to excel in schools. As schools become more lenient on grading, students aren't receiving as many educational benefits. Many students are raised in an environment where they are not encouraged to succeed in school. Having a grading system and encouraging teachers inspires students to try for a better future. Grades create a goal for students to achieve that may lead them to choose tough but attainable end goals. 30 years ago, America was the top-ranked country in quantity and quality in high school diplomas. Today, our nation is ranked 36. Our grade scales are becoming weaker and need to be built up stronger again. So far, the limit grading system has not shown any improvement in our nation's education. Other countries are becoming more intelligent and innovative than the U.S., which is a threat to our country. Also, parents are familiar with the standard grading scale, and the system has shown its effectiveness.
Overall, we think that going the school grading system should be. The grade system has shown ineffectiveness and needs to remain the same. For these reasons, school staff should not hold students accountable for their responsible. Students should accountable for their responsibilities. Students would be unskilled for college real-life experiences. If grades were abolished, it would be needed. Shut up, Brian. To be changed in all schools, including elementary, middle school, high school, and college. Lastly, students would not give 100% effort. Statistics have shown the nation's education needs to be improved. Our education values have been increasing, as well as grade rates. However, we think abolishing grades would be the wrong path to go. The proper way of addressing the issue would be to restore our school's grading system. So in closing, we think the grading system should remain as it is, with the letter grades A, B, C, D, and F, to grade the students on their quality of work, their accountability, and to bring work in completed on time.
If you take every person and put them into the same classes for the same things to learn, then putting the same grades on them wouldn't really be fair, because there are people who are more artistic, and then there are the people that go for math and science. If you put the same people into the same classes instead of dividing them up and letting them choose, then how are the grades even valid? Because you're not really learning what you want to, and either way you're going to learn where you want to learn. Say you go to science, if you like science more, you're going to learn more there than you do in math. So